Hello everyone, good morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This lecture is the introduction to biochemistry for MBC 226 Basic Biochemistry. The lecture is recorded. It will be available on the Blackboard system, so you can listen to it again in the evenings whenever you like. Before we start the introduction, I have two slides here to show you some basic information. It's general information about myself, where my office is, what is my telephone number, email address, the website for our King Khalid University, and the website for the e-learning deanship, the Blackboard system, where you will find lots of details about the course, description of the course, lectures, and the e-learning system we will use for electronic examinations, electronic quizzes, and home quizzes. So please note down my information and note down the email address, the telephone number, and also the addresses for the web and the e-learning website. On the second slide is general information. Inshallah, it will be useful for you in order to be successful in medical biochemistry and also in the other courses that you are taking together with biochemistry. Try to attend the classes, because in the lectures you will listen to the explanations, you will listen to the description, and you will get a better understanding of all the topics. In biochemistry, we are using two textbooks. Please note their names, write them down. You will find these books in the library. You will also be able to buy these books from the bookshops that are around Abha and also from Riyadh and Jeddah. Before you come to the classes, you have timetable, so you will know what lectures are coming, what topics are going to be explained to you. So read ahead using the books. One of the books that we'll be using is Harper's Illustrated Biochemistry. The other book, very useful also, is Lippincott's Biochemistry Reviews. By using these books and using the internet and using the lectures, please keep up week by week, lecture by lecture, so you don't fall behind. Try to understand the material that is taught to you. Some of the structures and some of the pathways that we will discuss in biochemistry, you will need to memorize them. You can group together 2 or 3 or 4 students together and try to learn in groups. Also use the e-learning system. And if there is anything that is of concern, please email me using the Blackboard system or using my details on the previous slide. So, in the introductory lecture, we would like to ask these questions. By the end of this lecture, we should be able to answer these questions. What is biochemistry? What is the aim? What is the objective of biochemistry, why we should learn biochemistry, why biochemistry is important for medical students, what are biomolecules, what are the techniques and the methods that are used in biochemistry to analyze these biomolecules. At the end of the lecture, there will be one slide showing you the summary of this lecture. So, by the introduction to biochemistry lecture, we should be able to know and understand and describe what is biochemistry, what are our aims, why biochemistry is important for medical students, what are biomolecules, and what are the methods. Biochemistry is the chemistry of life, or we can say by the word bio, it means life. Chemistry, it is the science or the knowledge concerned with molecules and their reactions. In our body, in the human body, there are lots of chemicals. These chemicals and these molecules, they go through lots of breakdown and synthesis processes and their reactions. So, by biochemistry, what we mean is the science concerned with molecules and their reactions. Or we can say biochemistry is the chemistry of life. What is the aim? The aim for medical students and for us to study biochemistry is actually to understand these chemical processes, especially the chemical processes that are related or associated with living cells. Another aim of biochemistry is also to take out and to isolate the various molecules and determine their structure and function. We will learn later why we should isolate these molecules and why we should find their structure, know their structure, understand their structure, and also their function. By studying biochemistry, we will also understand how on this planet Earth, how life began. Especially for biochemistry medical students, or especially for medical students, biochemistry is a very, very important subject. The reason all the diseases that happen to human beings, they are as a result of one or a few or many of these molecules becoming abnormal, not functioning properly. So since diseases are as a result of these abnormalities of molecules or abnormalities with chemical reactions and the processes, we as doctors should know what is the normal situation so that these abnormalities can be diagnosed, so that we can give a prognosis and we can relate it to a disease that we will be able to treat and cure. There are lots of advances going on in biochemistry, lots of new technologies being used, for example, molecular biology, gene therapy. All these are related to biochemistry and medicine so that we can come up with treatments for many of the diseases that are around in the world. So why medical students should know biochemistry or should understand biochemistry is due to these reasons, that many of the diseases are as a result of abnormalities of molecules not functioning properly, molecules not behaving properly, molecules going wrong, or the reactions of these molecules and these chemicals being wrong, or these processes, so they result in some disease or diseases. We as doctors should try to diagnose these abnormalities, should give a prognosis, and should be able to cure the disease. Of course, cure is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we as doctors should play a role in helping patients, helping people who have got one or many of these diseases, and we try to cure these diseases. So this is the reason why biochemistry is important for medical students. There are many areas of biochemistry. A few of them are listed on this slide. Structure and function of biological macromolecules, metabolism, which is the breakdown or the synthesis of molecules, molecular genetics, how we can understand life is replicated, how protein synthesis is regulated. These are some of the major principal areas of biochemistry. In our course MBC226, we will be concentrating on the first two. Mainly, our theme for the MBC226 course is the structure and function of biomolecules. Our main theme for the 15-week course MBC226 will be to look at major biomolecules like proteins, like carbohydrates, like lipids, like water, and other biological molecules. We will be mainly concerned with their structure and function, and we will be looking at some metabolism, how protein is metabolized, how lipids are metabolized in the body, how carbohydrates are metabolized, how enzymes work, what enzymes are. So our main area for MBC226 will be to look at the structure and function of biomolecules. What are biomolecules? I'm sure all of you are aware that molecules are made from elements. They combine together, they join together, they react together. Elements react together to make molecules. Mainly for the human being, we are concerned with elements such as carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, potassium, manganese, oxygen, sodium. These elements, when they react together, they form molecules, and in particular they form biomolecules. There are complex molecules in our body. They are, for example, proteins, carbohydrates, DNA, lipids, RNA. So these molecules or these elements, they combine together to make complex molecules. Small units, small elements join together, react together to make major complex molecules in our body. Our job in medical biochemistry will be to learn these molecules, understand their structure, understand how they are formed, and understand their reactions. Our human body has many of these molecules. In particular, if we look at the whole body as a general mass and weight, we will find that most of the constituents of our body, major constituents of our body, is water, for example, about 60%. Then we have proteins and fats and carbohydrates. Also, minor components come from minerals such as sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. So, this is a general idea for you that a human body has the following major constituents: proteins, fats, carbohydrates, water, minerals. Life in general is organized, and if you break them down, or if you break somebody's body down, then you will find that most big organisms, animals, human beings, we are composed of smaller and smaller molecules until we end up with elements. So, from the top of this slide to the bottom, we can see the hierarchy, how small molecules and small elements, they group together, they form monomers, single units that combine together to make polymers, macromolecules, even bigger molecules. Then they make organelles, they make cells, they make tissues, and so on and so on. We have organisms. Here is a picture showing you how small units join together to make larger molecules or units or macromolecules that are found for us in human beings. For example, we have sizes that we are looking at from nanometers up to meters. So going from the bottom of the slide to the top of the slide, this gives you a representation of how small molecules join together, or small elements join together to make macromolecules, to make organisms. I am sure all of you have seen this table. This is the elements table, periodic table. There are lots of elements in the world. So the most abundant of these are the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur, hydrogen. Some of them are less abundant, less amount are found. Minerals, some of them are needed in our body in trace amounts or very small amounts. So in particular, for our biochemistry course, we will be looking at the major elements like hydrogen, sodium, like carbon, like nitrogen, oxygen, so that we can understand how biomolecules are made. We do not need to memorize this periodic table. All we need to know is that these elements, which are colored in the slide, they are the ones that are used to make biomolecules. We should have a general idea and a general feeling of these elements. Some of them are used in large amounts, found in our body in large amounts. Some of them are found in our body in trace amounts, in small amounts, in minor components. Also, from your chemistry classes, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, you will know that there are lots of groups and functional groups in these molecules. So you will have heard of these major units. You will hear them again in biochemistry. For example, alcohols, aldehyde, ketone. So this slide that I'm showing you here gives you the major important compounds or functional groups that will be discussed and explained to you when we are taking the biochemistry course, when we will be looking at the major biomolecules in detail, when we will be looking at their metabolism, when we will be looking at their structure. We will come across these groups: esters, amides, amines, carbonyl, hydroxyl, phosphoryl, phosphate, amino, aldehydes, ketones, carboxylic acids. So these are major functional groups that we will come across in our lectures, so that we have a feeling and a know-how of how molecules are made, how molecules react. Many important biomolecules are actually made from smaller units. So this slide here I'm showing you is showing you how lipids and proteins and carbohydrates and nucleic acids, they are made from smaller units called monomers, how they join together to make polymers. For example, lipids, we will study them later. Approximately for lipids you will have about 10 lectures to explain their chemistry and to explain their function in our body, their metabolism in our body. So here is a slide that is showing you how monomers join together to make polymers and to make large lipids. At the moment, in the introductory lecture, you do not need to memorize these structures. All I want you to do is to look at these slides and say, lipids are major biomolecules made from smaller units. Smaller units, called fatty acids, join together to make larger units called lipids. For example, phospholipids. They are found in the biological membranes. Okay, so this slide shows you some pictures explaining to you how lipids are made. Similarly, the following slide shows you how proteins are made. Smaller units called amino acids joining together to make subunits or polymers, or making big proteins known as enzymes, for example. Okay, so these are examples of proteins. Similarly, these are examples of nucleic acids. Nucleic acids made from smaller units called nucleotides, making larger molecules, for example DNA. Again, please remember, we are in an introductory lecture. This lecture is not about memorizing these structures at the moment. At the moment we are giving you, or I am giving you, just a general idea how big molecules are made from small units, and some pictures of what these molecules look like. A cell, a living cell, for example, we will have cells that are coming from viruses, for example, bacteria cells, and the human cell. So they are divided into two types: prokaryotic cells, which is an example here, and their cell components are listed. I am sure most of them are already familiar to you, or you are familiar with them. The difference being, in a prokaryotic virus cell, you do not have a nucleus. Rather, you have a cell nuclear region or nucleoid region, and the individual components, they have some shapes and they have some pictures that you can see in this slide. The eukaryotic cell or eukaryotic cell is the major important cell for us as human beings. Again, there are similar components that are similar to the prokaryotic cells. The major difference in this one for us to note is that we have a nucleus. Nucleus is found in eukaryotic cells. The rest of the components, I'm sure you have come across this in your biology lectures. The well-known structures, for example, mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum. This is for you as a revision. I hope all of you will know what is a cell and what a cell looks like and what are the components of a cell. These cells are found in eukaryotes. If we go deeper to see the components, then these are some pictures showing you what ribosomes look like, what mitochondria look like, what is the endoplasmic reticulum look like. So these are some pictures just to show you or give you an idea of what these individual components of a cell they look like. Here is the Golgi sacs, vesicles. Here is the mitochondria. So in general, if we look at a cell, we will find components, organelles of the cell. As an introductory lecture, as an introductory information, we all should know what a cell looks like and what are the components of a cell. When we come to examination, when we come to quizzes, we may be asked to label these components. For example, I may give you a picture of this cell with the names missing, and I will ask you what is A, for example, in the diagram, or what is A in the picture shown to you, which will be the picture of the cell. This could be mitochondrion, this could be lysosomes, this could be cytosol, this could be the membrane, this could be the endoplasmic reticulum. In general, you should know general information about what the components of a cell are, so that we have a good basis to start our biochemistry lectures and to start with many of the major bigger molecules that we will be looking at in biochemistry. One of the other tasks or one of the other job of biochemistry is to actually look at ways in which we can take out and isolate these molecules and study their structure. So biochemical methods are used to understand three major processes. Isolation, meaning extracting or taking these molecules out from their places using laboratory techniques, and then using instruments or technology or analytic methods we determine their structure, number two, and then we can analyze what we have in the molecules so that we can have an understanding of how these molecules function. If you look at the Harper's Illustrated Biochemistry book, you will find a table that shows you what are the major processes and major methods used for isolation and used for analysis. To summarize this lecture, what I have said so far is that in our universe, in our world, we have many elements. The major elements for us as human beings are carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, etc. And what we have said so far is that these elements, they combine together to form biomolecules such as proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, DNA, RNA. We in biochemistry can look at or isolate these molecules by isolation techniques and analyze their structure, analyze their function. By using analytic techniques, we can diagnose the malfunction, meaning the wrong function, abnormal behavior of these molecules, and if we know what is the normal situation and we find the abnormal situation, we may be able to give a treatment for the diseases that are found in human beings. With that, I conclude the lecture on Introduction to Biochemistry.